South Korea is often seen as a cultural powerhouse.
K-pop dominates global charts. K-dramas travel faster than passports, and Korean brands feel modern, polished, and successful.
But at the same time, in Western media, Korea is often framed very differently.
As a stressed society, an exhausted country, sometimes even described as a sick one.
So how can both be true?
How can a country be globally admired yet internally overwhelmed?
To understand this contradiction, we need to look beyond the surface, beyond the music, the screens, and the success stories. The price tag of Korea's extraordinary rise. In the 1950s, Korea was a nation in ruins.
The Korean War had destroyed nearly everything. There was no capital, no natural resources, and very little external trust.
So Korea did the only thing it could. It invested in people.
Education became a national obsession. Long hours were normalized. Sacrifice was not a choice, it was an expectation. Families gave up comfort. Students gave up childhood. Workers gave up time, health, and balance.
This human drive was then amplified by a very specific system.
A strong state-led export strategy and the rise of large family-controlled conglomerates. Speed mattered more than sustainability. Growth mattered more than individual well-being.
And for decades, this formula worked spectacularly. The scale of what Korea achieved is often underestimated. Because when you look closely, this wasn't just fast growth, it was historically unusual.
Korea transformed itself from a war-torn, aid-dependent country into a major industrial economy in just a few decades.
This kind of compressed growth has almost no parallel in modern history.
Korea became the only country to move from receiving international aid to becoming a donor nation.
Not slowly, but within a single generation.
Korea achieved industrialization and democratization at the same time. Most countries experienced these processes separately, often decades apart. Korea went through both, under intense internal pressure.
Together, these three achievements explain why Korea is often described as the last country to enter the first world. But they also explain why the cost was so high.
What Korea achieved is often used as a model, something other countries are told to follow.
But there is a problem. That path no longer exists. Korea didn't just grow fast. It entered at the very last moment before the door closed. Here are 6 reasons why that journey cannot be repeated today.
Korea industrialized when manufacturing still created massive value. Factories meant growth, exports meant prosperity.
Today, much of that value has already been observed by earlier entrants. Korea grew under a unique security umbrella.
After the Korean War, the United States became a formal ally, maintaining a military presence on the peninsula. This deterred external threats from North Korea and stabilized a region surrounded by larger powers like China and Russia.
As a result, Korea did not need to prioritize national defense to the same extent as other developing countries. That allowed Korea to focus almost entirely on economic growth. Few countries today have that luxury.
Korea entered global supply chains when the rules were still being written. That gave its companies room to climb, from assembly work to full production.
Today, most of those ladders are gone. Latecomers are stuck at the bottom with the smallest margins.
When Korea was industrializing, much of today's intellectual property system did not yet exist. Technology was easier to imitate. Production knowledge was easier to transfer.
But that world is gone. Today's economy is heavily protected by intellectual property, patents, licensing, technology lock-ins. High-value activities are now tightly guarded and extremely difficult to access from the outside.
Korea benefited from a rare democratic window at a very specific moment in history. A large working age population combined with rapid industrialization. Jobs were created fast enough to absorb millions of young workers. Education, factories, and exports were tightly aligned.
Many countries today still have young populations, but few have the same ability to turn that youth into broad-based, high productivity growth. That combination no longer exists.
The kind of collective sacrifice that powered Korea's rise is no longer politically or socially possible. Long hours, delayed lives, endless competition.
Modern societies simply will not accept this at a national scale. This is why Korea matters, right? Not because it can be copied, but because it cannot. Korea was not just successful, it was the last country to enter just before the door closed. What Korea achieved came at a cost, not an abstract one, a human one.
This kind of growth required an entire society to endure pressure together. For decades, success was measured narrowly. Performance mattered more than rest. Competition was constant, and falling behind was not treated as a phase, but as a personal failure.
The results are visible today.
One of the highest suicide rates among advanced economies, extreme academic and workplace competition, long working hours that leave little room for life outside productivity, a quiet, persistent sense of exhaustion.
These are not side effects. They are the social costs of compressed growth, costs that were postponed but never eliminated. Understanding Korea's success also means understanding this truth. Growth came fast, and the price was paid quietly.
From the outside, Korea is often described in extremes. Western media tends to focus on the cost, the pressure, the exhaustion, and from there, the country is sometimes labeled as a sick society.
But that framing is incomplete. What we are really seeing is a clash of values.
Between a Western ideal that prioritizes the individual and an Eastern tradition that emphasizes collective commitment. Korea's growth was built on that commitment, on shared sacrifice, on enduring pressure for the sake of a future that did not yet exist.
This was not accidental, and it was not imposed blindly. It was a choice, a painful one, that many Koreans accepted in order to transform their country within a single generation. Our role on this channel is not to glorify that choice, nor is it to condemn it. It is to explain it, to add context where headlines simplify, and to understand Korea not as a paradox, but as a society shaped by history, trade-offs, and consequences. Only then can the story make sense.
This story doesn't end here. Korea cannot be understood through headlines alone or through success stories without context.
On this channel, we won't hide the price tag. At Korea Properly, we explore Korea as it really is, its achievements, its contradiction, and the trade-offs that shaped it. If you're interested in understanding Korea more deeply, more honestly, and from more than one angle, we invite you to stay, subscribe, and join us as we look at Korea properly. It's very cold today in Seoul. Oh,